Hey, what is going on, crypto people? Happy freaking Friday. Happy Friday. It feels like it's freaking Saturday night, but I think it's just Friday night, right? Another live stream. Listen, what the heck just happened at the Bitcoin 2024 in Nashville? What just happened? What the heck just happened there? What is going on? What did RFK Jr. just pontificate? What did he just did he really say he was going to do all that stuff? Did he really about Bitcoin and reserves and treasury? Did he really say that? Oh my goodness gracious. But why though? What is going on? Why would the Oh my gosh, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Listen, oh, by the way, are central banks for us or against us? Are central banks for us or against us? Like a lot of the XRP holders, the XRP community, I wonder if they've asked themselves that question. And I wonder if the answer is no. Let me do it another way. Let me say this another way. Let me put this another way. If you had to pick one, Alex G, move accordingly. If you had to pick one, the XRP army, the XRP army's movement is for central banks, or is the XRP movement against central banks? Or C, the central banks are going to happen anyway, so we might as well make money. The central banks are going to be here anyway, so we might as well make money. Alex, she says C. I think the most of the XRP army is in that camp. So the follow-up question to that, move accordingly, says definitely C. The follow-up question to that would be, do you feel that the central banks are for you or against you? And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I think that everyone has to get to their own conclusion. But do you feel like the central banks are for you or against you? Alex Sheet says against. Both depending on the person. Says move accordingly. I hear you. Both depending on the person. We're going to get into that as well. I'm hoping that more and more people, and I get to shed more and more light on what actually happened in 1913 and how that is really was the beginning of the end for the average Joe and Jane living in the world. And I think just most people maybe have forgotten it. It's interesting. Anyway, we're going to hear from somebody, Simon Dixon, before we listen to RFK. But it's interesting to me that RFK is making these statements. I mean, I wonder why not pick another asset. I mean, if there are other assets with better technology, why not pick that asset? Why not pick a financial asset like that can move anything of value in 3 to 5 seconds for less than a penny? Why not pick phenomenal Hedera hash graph Constellation, Algorand technology. I wonder. Alex, you said that is an agenda to take us to a cashless society using blockchain, central banks, right? CBDCs. And I wonder, are we move accordingly? Are we just saying, this control thing is going to, it's just going to happen. They're going to just keep controlling us. So we just might as well just let them control us. I wonder if that's what we're saying. It's an interesting thing. It really is an interesting thing to think about, to consider. It really is. Like, if we're discovering more and more and more by education that the absolute harm was created by the central banks in creating this debt-based system to monopolize the average person, to steal their wealth. If we become more and more aware of that is the actual enemy, what do we do about it? Like, what do we do about it? Do we just say we can't do anything about it? Or do we try to figure out something to do about it? Mixed, what's going on, Mix? How are you, my friend? I heard an interesting story. I'm going to share the video that something was supposed to happen in the Isle of Man and wasn't allowed to happen because the Bank of England came in there and said, if you let this happen, we're going to cut you off from our banking resources. And I just wonder why the central bank of England would do that, of a technology that's slow. It costs money, a lot of money compared to other technologies to kind of move. Like, why the central bank of England would do that? It just had me thinking, like, why? Why are they concerned? Why do they care? And it feels like it's under the same guise that the EU used and is using to get their people to register their assets so that the Bank of England, EU has the records of the assets. And it was money laundering and terrorist financing. We need to know what assets you hold so that we can prevent money laundering and terrorist financing. That same argument keeps coming up for everything that allows you and I to be able to transact with one another freely. Those things keep coming up. It seems odd to me that they keep coming up like that. They keep using those same things. Who's pushing that? Who's pushing it? It's interesting. It is really, really interesting, for sure. Look, the market is up. It's interesting. Late night market is up. It's kind of doing what it does. I'll share the numbers real quick. We're going to get into an interesting video. Simon Dixon of Bank to the Future is interviewing this guy named Adam. I guess it would be Niley. And he was the guy who kind of laid the groundwork and stuff for El Salvador to make Bitcoin legal tender. He laid the groundwork. He put the frameworks in and hooked up. Good night. Hooked up with Bukele to make that happen. It's interesting. And he's from the US. He's from the US. He's from the US. Interesting story. Uh, Again, the market's doing what it does. We're going to go over the numbers really, really quick. So just in case for the late night folks, some people might be just getting up, you know. They might be just getting up, mix. They might just be awakening. So let's go over these numbers real quick. Guys, do me a favor, hit that like button if you haven't done so already. We always like to have just as many viewers, or just as many likes, excuse me, as we have viewers in the stream. That'd be super, super cool if you guys could do that. All right, so according to CoinGecko, is this correct? It's up to date. 67K Bitcoin, huh? Let's refresh that. Yeah, according to CoinGecko, in the last 24 hours, the total cryptocurrency market cap is up 1.8% at 2.53 trillion. Bitcoin dominance is 53%, which means it's probably a little higher than that. Bitcoin is currently trading at $67,829 again. It's up 11% on a 30-day. Ethereum is trading at $3,247 again. It's down on the 30-day. Don't expect that to last too long. Get that arbitrage done with the perps and the futures and the the futures and the perps orbiting against the spot. Get that done. It'll be done. It'll be a week or so. I think Ethereum will start doing its thing again. Solana's at $182. Unbelievable. And it's up 33%. Move accordingly. It's up 33% on the 30-day. Isn't that interesting? XRP is trading at 59, almost 60 cents. It's up 27% on the 30-day. There it is, fam. XRP 27%, Solana 30% plus on the 30-day. Solana meme coin with up 28% on the 30-day. Bit Tensor, interesting. 24, that's not bad. It's kind of close. 31% Solana meme coin bonk, 2 meme coins. I find that to be fascinating. What's up with this big get token? What's up with that? Jupiter Exchange token up 37% on the 30-day. Staking my Jupe, having a good time doing it. Life is good. Interesting stuff over there. Oh, I thought that was Jasmine. It's not Jasmine. Dang it. Would have been nice to see Jasmine up. So there it is, fam. There it is. The market again is just kind of doing what it freaking does. Let's see. Let's share this post. I guess I'll share my food for thought, my ponder questions later. So this guy put this post out, and like, what's going on here? This is at the Bitcoin conference. It's 2 minutes and 28 seconds. Let's take a listen.
I intend, as President of the United States, to sign an executive order on day one, directing the Department of Justice and the U.S. Marshals to transfer the approximately 200,000 Bitcoin held by the U.S. government to the United States Treasury, where it will be held as a strategic asset. On day one as president, I will sign another executive order directing the U.S. Treasury to purchase 550 Bitcoin daily until the U.S. has built a reserve of at least 4 million Bitcoins. And a position of dominance that no other country will be able to usurp. Our nation holds approximately 19% of global gold reserves. This policy will give us about the same proportion of total Bitcoin. The cascading impact from these actions will eventually move Bitcoin to a valuation of hundreds of trillions of dollars. On day one as president, I will sign also an executive order directing the IRS to issue public guidelines that all transactions between Bitcoin and the US dollar are unreportable transactions. And by extension, non-taxable. On day one as president, I will also sign an executive order directing the IRS to treat Bitcoin as an eligible asset for 1031 exchange into real property.
Now, I mean, we all get it. We all get it. Mixed, Alex G. We all get it. I mean, the dude's at a conference. He's running for office. We all get that. We all get that. What's going on, Eric G? Says XRP. Indeed. We all get it. We all get it. It's interesting, those kind of issues. It's interesting. It really is. Yosef says, what is it they're trying to do really, right? Well, I think that someone is realizing that what Bukele did, and you throw in the MicroStrategy thing, that somewhere along the line, there's a strategy that can benefit nations, that can really benefit nations. It's interesting that he brought those up. He also said something that he was aware of what the former president was going to say, as I affectionately call him, the Donald Trump, what he was going to announce, and he applauded that announcement, and it had something to do with $1 million worth of Bitcoin, something, So we'll see what he says tomorrow, but that had something to do with that. Interesting to me. Again, I'm going to ask for all the new people joining in early. Do you feel like central banks are for you or against you? Do you feel like they're for you or against you? And I asked this question too, and that question I just asked for or against was actually the follow-up question. The original question was really, I feel like in the XRP army, what is the XRP army's movement? Is it pro central banks or against central banks? Or is it the central banks are going to do what they do, baby, and I'm just here to cash in? I wonder, right? A, for, B, against, or C, they're going to do what they do. And I'm here to cash in on that. And I just wonder if the more and more we do our homework and due diligence on central banks being the real harm to your dollar, your hard-earned money, if we'll continue down that road of, they're going to do what they do. If it's really about control, if the CBDC is really about control and eventually getting to, surveillance or here's the other thing. Do you think that central banks, given the power to have a central bank digital currency, won't exercise their power? Or can you trust that? Can you trust that they won't exercise that kind of power? Hold on a second. Can you trust that they won't exercise that power? These are questions that I think we all have to ask ourselves. Can we trust that they won't exercise that power? And here's the other thing. What if we had a system where we didn't have to trust whether or not they would exercise that power? Very good term to throw in there is power, right? Yeah. You see what I'm saying? If there's some other thing where it's trustless and there's no control, like it eliminates the need for someone to kind of control. I don't know. Is that a better system? I know for me, months ago, and Alex, you probably remembers this, I became more and more torn with this idea of um, companies out there promoting, central banks and putting central banks up there. If they're the real enemy. I mean, are they? Joseph says, and everything these folks put their hands on, they destroy. I don't trust none of them. I barely trust myself. Right. And so I barely trust myself at times, Joseph says. So think about it. We don't have to do that. We don't have to put trust in an entity like central banks. I don't know. Just got me thinking more and more and more and more and more. I feel like it's that part of Ripple that I don't like. It's that part of Ripple that I'm like, I don't like it. Doesn't feel right. Doesn't sit well. Because is it a cash grab? Is it a look, they're going to get control over us anyway, so we might as well help them get control over us anyway? Yeah, I don't know. It just not sitting well with me. Eric G says central bank slant power versus retail utility or its own use cases. Move accordingly. Yeah, brings up a good point. Yeah. It's something to think about. I'm not asking you to make, I'm not here to judge you and ask you to, you know, you know, go one way or other. I just encourage people to kind of think about it because it's kind of feeling like, I don't know. Like, I feel like we figured out the real enemy, the real cause of the debasing of the dollar, of this made up thing, inflation, of all these things that have made citizens poorer and poorer and poorer and created the biggest wealth divide ever. That happened because of a system that they created. It's funny. I was listening to that James Seifert guy, and he was interviewing at the Bitcoin conference. He was interviewing a former Ripple guy, right? So the XRP entertaining content creators want to keep throwing up all the former Ripple people and where they are now and where they came from. This is why. This is why this thing's going to happen. This XRP thing's going to happen. XRPL thing's going to happen. Right. So I listened to an entertaining content creators. They say, because James basically at the end of the interview with Robbie Mitchnick formerly of Ripple, currently at BlackRock. Now, for me, someone who does an intern in about, 12 months in a day and then leaves, I guess as a Ripple employee, but to sing the praises, video after video after video of how the former employee is now at BlackRock. He's going to educate BlackRock on all the prowess of XRP and the XRPO and all of this stuff. Singing the praises of Robbie Mitchnick. I mean, Robbie, he was formerly a Ripple. Da, da, da. So Robbie Mitchnick gets on stage and tells his background and never mentions that he was at Ripple. You know, cut my teeth in the digital asset space at Ripple. I don't know, did an internship at Ripple for, never mentions it. James mentions it at the end of the interview and says, I find it interesting that you didn't mention Ripple at all. Looks like you are now, a reformed, the phrase they like to use for anything other than Bitcoin. And the XRP entertaining content creator was mad at James. Mad at James. But it was the former Ripple employee who didn't stick his chest up and mention that he had been at Ripple. That he was employed at Ripple and he knows about this awesome technology. It was Robbie who didn't, who just smirked when James brought it up. It's interesting to me. Juan Phillips, what's going on? Juan Phillips, how are you, bro? Like the vids. Thank you. Guys, yeah, do me a favor, hit that like button. It'd be super, super cool. If you can hit the like button, we always like to have it's just as many likes as we have viewers in the streams. And do me a favor, if you're hanging out listening to the Crypto Siege and you happen to be in that 45% of people who have not subscribed to the channel. If you've been enjoying those hangouts, please consider subscribing to the channel. We're trying to get that number down from 50% or so to about 25%. On our way to 10,000 subs as fast as we can get there. Right? I mean, why didn't Robbie mention it? I mean, Margine Delatine, the 43rd treasurer, or she's still on the board. I mean, Naveen Gupta. Why didn't Robbie mention it? The BlackRock dude, he didn't mention it. Don't blame James. Don't blame James. Robbie's the one who didn't mention it. Robbie's the one who didn't mention it. So my thing is on these central banks. So I went to ChatGPT and a couple of things I discovered. First of all, Coinbase has a little uniform commercial code in their digital wallet thing. Did you know that? Did you we talked about the great taking and uniform commercial codes, Article 8 and 9. Well, Coinbase mentions this in their digital wallet. I thought, what's going on there? Let me see if I can't find it. Check this out. This is interesting. I saw this en route. I was investigating and exploring verifying a wallet. Coinbase has this big thing about verifying your wallets, on-chain verification of your wallet. So I happened to look over the user agreement on this thing. See if it refreshes. Here it is. This is the user agreement that you have to agree to get your wallet verified. It's under hosted wallet and custodial services. Digital asset wallet and a hosted US dollar wallet. Those are the dollars. Those are the wallets. The digital asset wallet and the US dollar wallet, right? Go down here. First, you talk about ownership. So I read ownership and I think, okay, cool. Title to supported digital assets shall at all times remain with you and shall not transfer to Coinbase. All interests in digital assets we hold for digital asset wallets are held for customers, are not property of Coinbase, and are not subject to claims of Coinbase creditors. As owner of the supported digital assets in your digital asset wallet, you shall bear all risk, right? Coinbase may not grant a security interest in the supported digital assets held in your digital asset wallet, except, let me read this again. Coinbase may not grant a security interest in the supported digital assets held in your digital wallet, except as required by law. Except as required by law. Or except as provided herein. That's lawyer speak. That's lawyer speak, Eric G. For keep reading. Provided herein. So you go down to, that was part of 2.7.1, ownership. Okay? You go down to 2.7.2, which is provided herein. This is what it says. Application of the Uniform Commercial Code. Uniform Commercial Code, if you go to thegreattaking.com, 2 T's, one for great and one for taking. You download the free PDF, read the prologue. It'll highlight the Uniform Commercial Code. And this is California version because I guess Coinbase started something in California, I'd imagine. It says here, application of the Uniform Commercial Code. All supported digital assets credited to the digital asset wallet will be treated as financial assets under Division 8 of the California Uniform Commercial Code. Coinbase is a securities intermediary as used in Division 8 with respect to supported digital assets. And your person, business, or transaction, wait a minute, and your digital asset wallet is a securities account. Did you guys know that your digital asset wallet is a securities account? Like in securities, the paper stuff. Did you know? Your digital asset wallet is a securities account as used in Division 8, as stated in Division 8 of the characterization as a person or transaction for purposes of this division. They're an intermediary. Coinbase is an intermediary, securities intermediary, and you have a securities account. This is exactly what David Rogers Webb said in The Great Taking when he went over the Uniform Commercial Code Articles 8 and 9. Yeah. Now everyone's saying, hold on a second. We already know. Don't keep your stuff on the Coinbase. Don't keep your stuff on exchanges. We already know. You ever think about the people who leave some stuff there? because it's simple. It's just easy to do. You ever think about I don't know how many tens of millions of people got these accounts because it's quick and easy to get there. Yeah. Let me get to the chat. Yeah. This brokerage is treating your assets the same way that Charles Schwab, TD Ameritrade, now is Charles Schwab, JP Morgan. They're treating your crypto in the same way for having a Robinhood account or brokerage account. Joseph said, huh, wow. Yes, it is. It's lawyer speech. They just played word games right there. Exactly. And the digital asset wallet it's not the Coinbase wallet. It's you using that platform's wallet. It's not the Coinbase wallet, because in this thing here, they talk about the Coinbase wallet is a non-custodial wallet. But I wouldn't trust it. Eric G says, that's how I understand it also, CJ. Isn't that interesting that we've been talking about the great taking? Eric, if you didn't know, we've been encouraging people to go to thegreattaking.com, one word, and download that free PDF, which is the whole book, and just read the prologue and see if it strikes your fancy, if it creates and piques your curiosity. It's about the great taking, about anything that you don't hold, you don't own. And that they legally have set up over the years and over the decades, the central banks, in conjunction with the government, when they realize that we cannot any longer keep this thing going, and that the banks may fail, we might get another housing thing, whatever it is. And if we determine on our own, we don't need the people's permission to suggest that it's a systemic crisis. And just like I read there, it said financial assets, that they can now deem any financial asset as collateral, and they can take those assets. And that Coinbase is merely an intermediary to your securities account. A lot of people don't even know they have a securities account. They have a securities account on Coinbase. It's a security account. It's a securities account. You have financial assets, but the account in which you hold them is what they're deeming as a securities account. It's just more lawyer speech. This is what the Uniform Commercial Code Articles 8 and 9 go over. It's not like a security in terms of if you're not an accredited investor. They're calling it a securities account so that they can have purview over your financial assets. Isn't that interesting? That's interesting. Everybody think crypto, hey, but that's interesting. And I don't even know how I got, again, I was on the Coinbase thing, trying to wait for them to figure out how they're going to let you, so I can receive some freaking crypto so I could put it in my account, my bank account. And I just said, let me check some other stuff while I'm waiting for them to figure out what they got going on. And then I discovered that. Eric G says, good comparison, CJ. How Schwab holds assets. It's the same thing. Any of them, all of them, including Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan. Goldman Sachs customers don't know that they don't really own those assets. They just think they do. The only way, if they get word of a systemic risk, if they get word, because if you got 2 or 300 million, you may get an inside word. I don't know, and able to get your stuff out. But if you don't, yeah, it's over. They can take it. It's crazy, but that is it. And this is all set up by the central banks. The ECB, the Bank of England, Federal Reserve, Bank of Japan following along. A lot of people don't know. Like a lot of people don't know. Yeah, it's scary. It really, really is scary when you think about it. Joseph says, sounds like to me they are tracking these wallets. And that was the thing, Joseph, because I was thinking they're using Verify so that it's a verified wallet on chain. And I'm thinking to myself, why do I need to verify my wallet? Like, who needs to know that I have it? Or right, what's this verification thing? And then you had to click, and you have to click wallet verification. Then you have to check another box, agree to these user agreement. And I said, let me read this user agreement. Let me read this user agreement and see what's going on there. What's going on, Disclosure Crypto? No other progress other than process. How are you doing it? How are you liking it? Somebody read this user agreement. This one, I discovered that. That's fascinating to me. Let me try and listen to Simon. Simon Dixon goes on a bit, right? So forgive me. He likes I don't know. He can go on. So we're gonna try to listen to Simon Dixon here. And it's this interesting story. If I can find the video. Talking about the central bank thing. And I suppose it's all good. It's food for thought, for sure. If I get my laptop to cooperate. I think I gotta put a bunch of stuff in the trash bin that I have downloaded, because I have so many videos downloaded on here. I think I gotta put them in the trash. And I think this will help with all this stuff going on here. I think that is the issue. All right, we're just waiting for the laptop to cooperate here. That's me. That's not what we want. That's not what I wanted. I wanted. Oh, here it is. It's this one. Come on. I might have to tell a story myself here. Oh my God. Anyway, this ain't gonna work. This is taking way too freaking long. Way too long. Yeah, and I know what it is. I know what it is. I see you're talking about
That was your destiny written to you by the debt-based fiat system. And people that get to
well, I finally uploaded. So let's see. I want to go to minute 16.
was 2013. I need to look back and check when I was invited to a meeting with Boris Johnson, who was mayor of London, that later became the Prime Minister of the UK. I rolled out and gave him a complete Bitcoin strategy. All of the companies were trying to find a sovereign nation that would support them. We had all of these companies that were becoming bigger and bigger and bigger as the exchange industry was going. And Boris Johnson basically laughed us out of the room and just thought, ain't going to happen. So the next country was the country that I live in now was Isle of Man. And in 2014, the Isle of Man government saw the opportunity to build an island just for Bitcoin. It started actually, it started putting in the process to make Bitcoin legal tender. The first process was to accept the Bitcoin for taxes. And then it put together a conference, and we got all of the different Bitcoin companies over here. They were all excited, all ready to go. And then they tried to start opening bank accounts, and we learned Operation Choke Point, which was a big thing that happened on the island. Operation Choke Point, where the online gaming companies couldn't get access to banking, even though it was perfectly legal to do online gaming. The Isle of Man actually stood up against America and allowed these companies to exist. They wanted to do the same again. But this time, the objection was from somebody a lot closer to home, which is Bank of England. So the Bank of England then contacts all the banks on the island and contacts the government and says, if you support this sector or Bitcoin, then we're going to remove clearing to your banking system. And so all of the banks operated Operation Choke Point. And then they really just moved further and further away from Bitcoin and over to, ICOs and all that type of stuff.
I wanted to share that with you guys because I find it fascinating. Well, first of all, I don't know if you guys remember, but remember all the freaking brouhaha, all the ramblings. It was on major mainstream news channels about online gambling. You remember that? What's going on, Crypto Kahuna? It's been a minute, bro. How are you? You guys remember all the freaking Joseph? You might not remember this, but remember all the online game? I mean, it was a big. They were throwing people in jail like that because they were promoting online gambling. Gambling. You remember that? And how it was going to be the death of America, and it was just going to be the death of the citizens. You remember that? I mean, think about that. It's amazing how much stuff they want to keep trying to control that you do with your own money. It's amazing. It really is amazing. But I do remember that. They went crazy about it. And then once they figured out, okay, this is how we can get the taxes, then okay. Yeah, we got this way now to figure out how we can get these taxes on this. Okay, yeah, okay. Go for it. I remember that. So Simon says there that Simon Dixon is an early Bitcoin guy, early Bitcoin guy. He wrote the first book about Bitcoin. It's called Bank to the Future. Protect your money or your investments or something before somebody takes it, when he's talking about the banks, central banks. Early Bitcoin guy. And he was interviewing there, even though he's doing most of the talking, but he was interviewing a guy named Adam Niley, Nili. Niley is Adam is running a again, he helped Bukele establish Bitcoin as a legal tender. Adam was a major force in having that done. It's from the US, by the way. And Adam has this thing where he goes around and he believes everything is about education. It's not about the Bitcoin. It's about the education. And what he's educating them on is how the central banking system is robbing you of your wealth, because there is a element of trust that you have to bestow to them, and that they can't be trusted. And how Bitcoin was going to, is the answer to that, because it's trustless, that type of deal. So anyway, Simon says that because Simon asked Adam, how did you make the thing in El Salvador work? And Adam was basically saying that because another nation tried it, and the IMF was like, yeah, we will do this and this and that and this and that and that to you. Was an African nation. I forget the name of it. And they were like, but El Salvador is like, we don't care what the IMF says. We don't care what America thinks. We don't care what the Bank of England does. We're gonna do it. Type of deal. And I guess they have the resources and that they're able to do it. So Simon was asking about that, and he begins to tell him his story, because he tried to do this in the UK. He met with Boris Johnson when Boris Johnson was a mayor. And basically Boris was like, what? Now we all know the dude, Boris, what kind of dude Mr. Johnson ended up being when he became in charge. We all know that. That was a disaster, right? So he tells the story that he came back to where he lives now, and he tried to do it in the Isle of Man. They were right there. It was the Isle of Man was loving it. Da, 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 da. And the Bank of England, the central bank, got word of it. It's Bitcoin. You're gonna set up a Bitcoin island. It's peer-to-peer. It's and the Bank of England, that central bank, was like, nah. We will cut you off from our banking system if you move forward with a Bitcoin island and let Bitcoin companies go there. And don't you have to ask why? Like, don't you gotta, why is this central bank arguably the most powerful central bank? I really do think the guys, a little sleight of hand, the bamboozle, is making you think that it's our central bank that's the most powerful. David Rogers Webb says he believes that all of this stuff begins and ends with the Bank of England. You remember, that's where the original kind of wealth, if you will, for the North, if you will. Yeah. Let the Americans, okay, you won your deal. You won your little freedom thing. Why would the Bank of England? You got to ask yourself, Crypto Kahuna, why would the Bank of England care about little Isle of Man setting up a little Bitcoin island? Why would they care? The Central Bank of England. Why would they care? Is it because it represents a trustless financial system? I think so. I think it's why. I think that's why. I don't know if it means disintermediation, but hey, if there's a system where we don't have to trust, we don't have to worry about someone thinking that they're more powerful than the people. Feels like that's the reason. And I feel like this is the thing that a lot of people are missing in the space, is the idea behind it, Bitcoin. And they're focused on the technology, they're focused on the asset itself, or they're focused on, we got people like Peter Schiff talking about, I mean, just some nonsense, crazy stuff. Tulip bubbles and all kind of stuff, rather than this trustless thing. RFK just recently at that Bitcoin conference in a different interview with Caitlin Long and Scott Melker says that he puts up, this is freedom of speech. He puts the free transactional freedom up there with freedom of speech. And that we must, he said, we must protect transactional freedom. Anybody have issues with trying to spend their own money? And the bank's like, nah. Anybody have any kind of trouble like that? You're trying to spend your own money. That money, that money that you worked for. And you're trying to spend it. And they're like, nah. Remember all those stories? Remember that? Remember the stories? Closing people's accounts without any word. Crypto Kuna says, doing great, brother. Siege looking good, bro. Thank you, my guy. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for showing up, my guy. I appreciate it. Remember that? How about we all seen the videos of the people trying to get their own money out? Do you realize there are people today? This is crazy. This is crazy, Eric G. There's people today that don't realize the second they deposit that money into a bank account, it's not their money. There are people who still don't know that and are relying on this little FDIC thing. He also says, yes, I have. They took 4 days to clear 1,000 in Bitcoin. Isn't that something? It's interesting. It's your money. It's interesting how that can't get your own money out of an account. It's no longer your money when you deposit anyway. But you imagine that the people get that surprise. And the reason why I bring up Adam Niley, Nili, is because he's going about it different than what the Maxis are doing. He's going about it by way of education. He's educating people on the reality of the central banking thing. So I went to ChatGPT to ask him, because I was thinking of what I read in the Coinbase user agreement, and I was trying to remember whether or not he was talking about central banks. So let's see if I can do this. So I asked GPT, are you familiar with the book The Great Taking by David Webb? And he says, here's an overview of The Great Taking. He searched 5 sites, you know, da, 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 da. Okay, all that kind of stuff is awesomely cool. Central thesis is Webb argues that there is a deliberate long-term plan by powerful financial institutions and central banks to subjugate humanity by taking control of all securities, bank deposits, and property financed with debt. This plan, which Webb refers to as the Great Taking, is described as the end game of a globally synchronous debt accumulation supercycle. Here it talks about the legal mechanism that's going to allow them to do it. Under the UCC, Uniform Commercial Code, especially with the roles of institutions like the Depository Trust Company and its nominee seeding company, investors do not hold direct title to their securities, but rather have a security entitlement. This makes them unsecured creditors if their broker or financial institution fails. He suggests to protect against the Great Taking, Webb advises individuals to minimize their exposure to debt and hold assets that are not simultaneously someone else's liability. He suggests investing in physical gold and silver, owning real estate outright, and considering Bitcoin as a way to maintain financial sovereignty outside the traditional banking system. So I said, that's awesome. I says, does David ever mention central banks in the book? And he says, yes, David Webb frequently mentions central banks in The Great Taking. His arguments revolve around the role of central banks in facilitating the centralization of financial power and control over assets. Kind of just says central banks to me. Webb argues that central banks, such as the Federal Reserve in the United States, play a crucial role in creating and managing financial crises. He suggests that these institutions deliberately expand and contract the money supply, leading to boom and bust cycles. These cycles, according to Webb, are engineered to enable the eventual confiscation of assets from the broader population during periods of financial instability. And who determines whether or not one is entering or is in a period of financial instability? The central bank does. You ever notice how they weasel themselves into these little 5 mandates? They got Congress to give them the responsibility. Those are the facts. Central banks and debt. Webb posits that central banks have encouraged the accumulation of massive amounts of debt, both public and private. This debt is seen as a tool to ensnare individuals, businesses, and even governments, making them vulnerable to asset seizures when they are unable to service their debts during a financial downturn. if he can do it. Let's see if he can do it. Can you state Articles 8, 9, short title, general manners, 8, short title, investment securities? It was 8-2, I thought. Stay unless the notice of that effective unauthorized signature securities, effects of guarantee endorsement, completion, right of purchaser, rights of purchaser, protect the purchaser, effective guarantee, purchaser's right to requisites for registration or transfer. This is kind of where it all begins. There. Secure transactions. Title to collateral and material. I think it's both in 8 and 9, but they're just giving the titles here, and I can't remember. I mean, the sections, laws governing priority security interest. I would have to bring out all my papers, but do yourself a favor. Where can I read Uniform Commercial Code? And it again, it's more the lawyers speak, and it really tries to get you. I think I have it saved somewhere. All right, what is that? 8 and 9. It tells you where to find it. I think I went here, Uniform Commercial Code. But it says it in here, and it's a very, very interesting reading for sure. Article 3, 4, 6, 7. Investment securities. Uniform Commercial Code Article 8 provides a modern legal structure for the system of holding securities through intermediaries. The 1994 revision. 1994 revision sets forth rules concerning the system through which securities are held, specifying the mechanisms by which ownership and other interests in securities are recorded and changed, and setting out some of the rights and duties of the parties who participate in the securities holding system. Let's go here real quick, see if I can't read one of these lawyers speak things to you. I don't know if they're going to come up. I think, yeah, see, it's locked. Bastards. I think it's locked. You gotta, it's a lawyer thing. I found it somewhere where I actually had a chance to read it. See if something comes up here. If you guys find something where you can actually read more into detail, let me know. That would be super, super cool. But I mean, once you read it, I'm telling you, it is like, what? Once you read it, it is it is an eye-opener for sure. Once you read it, it's like, man, it's exactly what he states in the book. And the book is really, really good. All right. I was trying to get it, see if I could find it for you real quick. But it's really, really good. And it's like, holy shit. It's one of those except, it's one of those deals. Except, but. And you realize, oh, no, you don't really own it. You're the beneficiary owner. Yeah, it is. It's very fascinating. Very, very fascinating. There was one place I found to I could actually read it. Notice, I mean, 1994, this revision put into place. 1994. Rules for determining whether certain obligation and interests are securities or financial assets, acquisition of security. Yeah, I think it's let's do this one. Let's do 5-8-103. Yeah, this is the one here. This is the one here. A share or similar equity interest issued by a corporation. I call my broker today and like, can I get me one of them stock certificates? I like to get one of those. And right. And he was like, can I ask why you want to get that yourself rather than having us manage it for you? I just like to be able to hold stuff in my hand. $100 they want to charge. $100. No, I think I'm just going to reach out to the company directly and see what they say. An investment company security is a security. Investment company security means a share or similar equity interest issued by an entity that is registered as an investment company under the federal investment, whatever stuff. I'll say that's awesome. Investment company security does not include an insurance policy. Interesting. Or an endowment policy or an annuity contract issued by an insurance company. Interesting. Got some insurance stuff here, not in this. But anyway, an interest in a partnership or limited liability company is not a security. Okay, that's not what I want. A commodity contract is defined in section 9102 as not a security or a financial asset. Let's see if this is the one. Oh, however, a negotiable interest. Oh, there it's right there. Oh, don't go. A writing that is a security certificate is governed by this article and not by Article 3. Damn it. That's the one I want. Anyway. A person who acquires a security entitlement. A person acquires a financial asset. Remember, in the Coinbase thing, it said financial asset. Other than the security or an interest they're in under this article, if the person acquires a security entitlement to the financial asset. A person who acquires a security entitlement to a security or other financial asset has the rights specified in Part B, but is a purchaser of any security entitlement, or financial asset held by the securities intermediary only to the extent provided in Section 8503. Unless the context shows that a different meaning is intended, a person is required by other law, regulation, rule, exchange, or otherwise to put in the possession of another person a secure financial asset satisfies the requirements by causing the other person to acquire an interest. That was another thing they mentioned in the Coinbase thing. An interest in a security for financial asset pursuant to subsections A and B. Just a lot of lawyer stuff here. I can go on and on, but this Cornell one, if you have some time to hit, Section 8503 and, go to this next one, 103, rules for determining whether certain obligation and interests are securities or financial assets. Yeah, you definitely. I'm gonna put this in the link in the chat. But once you go through it, I can't remember which ones he cited. I thought he said 2 and 3. Would it be 8, 301 and 302, or 8, 101 and 102? I can't remember. But you'll find it here. Let me get this copy. I'm telling you, it's an eye-opener. Or you could just read the book. And I think once you read the book, it'll tell you the articles, sections, whatever, and then you can just Google it specifically directly. But I'm telling you, when you get to it, it's an eye-opener. And this is why I find it fascinating that Robert Kiyosaki keeps talking about gold, silver, and Bitcoin. Is it because of this thing, of this personal responsibility entitlement? There you go, Eric G. That's right. Nor available 24/7. That's exactly right. What's going on, Mushu? Yeah, and they think they have the right to ask all these questions, don't they, Yosef? Yosef said, I went to deposit a check for 40K and I had to walk and I had to talk to the bank manager first. And when I told him I wanted to deposit the check and withdraw 20K, he was asking all kinds of questions. Yep. Yep. That's exactly right. And it's sad that it's only the digital asset space, crypto holders who are becoming more and more and more and more educated to the realities. You know what I mean? Mushu said RK is being conservative in what he is saying and what he says, but he is correct. Instead of going after their guns, let go a little further, going after their money and monitor. Yeah, that's 100%. 100%. So I hope you guys definitely do you guys self a favor. TheGreatTaking.com. Read it for yourself. I find it fascinating that I'm seeing this on a crypto brokerage exchange. The same thing that he talks about in the Great Offering. Again, this whole thing with Bitcoin leads or led to self-custody, right? It's just getting back to being responsible for your own stuff. Because what they did, in my opinion, is they made us become so comfortable with letting someone else take care of our stuff. They got us to be so comfortable. Like the dude asked me, like, can I ask you why it is that you want to take ownership yourself and not let us do it for you? My brokerage said that. Isn't that interesting? And then he tried to tell me, I said, well, if I get the stock certificate, how does that change our relationship? And he said, well, you'll have to do stuff yourself. And when you need to do something, you're gonna have to do it yourself. I'm like, huh, isn't that interesting? I would just have to do some things myself with my own stuff. That's pretty profound. Yeah. So that's not the link to the Great Taking, Eric. That's just a link to the Cornell thing. But you can go to thegreattaking.com, one word, all lower caps, The Great Taking, two T's, one for the end of great and the other for the beginning of taking.com. You can download the free PDF, which is the whole book. And it also shows you there where you can order the physical copy. But if you read the prologue, it really helps give context because you get to see David's background, where he came from. Is he's got a different kind of brain, a different kind of mind that serves him well financially, and kind of helps you it gives you context to where he got to where he is. He has this kind of unique ability to kind of see some stuff financially. That's why he was able to meet with the likes of George Soros, because he found out about this dude David's genius in doing some stuff. And he's a regular guy too. He's not like he's not like I want to say Elon Musk smart. He's not like a Gates geeky smart. He's just got that brain smart for stuff. All right, family, there it is. Thank you so much for hanging out. I'm gonna hop off here. It's been a really, really cool hang. I appreciate you guys checking in. Eric G and Yosef, I appreciate you guys checking in on a late night. Keela's checked in. What's up? The Lady Crypto checked in. I appreciate you being here, miss. Hope all is well. Mool Shoes, I appreciate you checking in, my guy. Crypto Kahuna, it's been a minute. I appreciate you being in. Don't be a stranger, my dude. Disclosure Crypto, thanks for checking in, my friend. This laptop is something here. So I appreciate you guys checking in. I'm going to end this live stream like I do all my live streams. Mixed, Alex Yeet, move accordingly. I appreciate you guys being here. I'm going to end my live stream by telling you a couple of things. Number one, old money, listen, they don't want you to win. But that's okay, though. Because you and I, because we're here, we're already winning. And I would ask you to consider this, perhaps ponder the idea or notion of living your life permissionless. I'll talk to you guys soon. See ya. Bye.